From the frozen peaks of Antarctica to the uncharted jungles of South America, explorers have sought to conquer the unknown for centuries. Yet, for every triumph, there are tales of expeditions gone horribly, tragically wrong. Join us as we uncover 10 such disastrous journeys that set off with dreams of glory, only to end in agony, despair, and the ultimate price. The number 1 entry might be one of the most mysterious events you have ever heard of. Number 10. The Greely Expedition. In 1881, U.S. Army Lieutenant Adolphus Greely led 24 men on an expedition to establish a meteorological research station in the high Arctic. Their plan was to spend 2 years in the treacherous landscape of northern Ellesmere Island, gathering valuable climate data. However, from the very start, the mission was plagued by one disaster after another. Supply ships failed to reach them, equipment malfunctioned, and hunger slowly tightened its grip. By the summer of 1883, over half the team had perished from starvation and hypothermia. The remaining survivors were discovered just barely clinging to life, reduced to eating their fallen comrades in a desperate bid for survival. In the end, only 7 of the original 24 men made it back home, a grim testament to the unforgiving forces of nature in the remote Arctic. Number 9. The Lost Patrol. In 1910, the Northwest Mounted Police dispatched a routine mail delivery patrol from the remote outpost of Fort McPherson, Canada, to the town of Aklavik. Led by the experienced Inspector Francis Joseph Fitzgerald, the 5-man team set out across the frozen wilderness, blissfully unaware that they would never be seen again. When the patrol failed to arrive at their destination, a massive search was launched. Weeks turned into months, but not a single trace of the lost men could be found. Their ultimate fate remains one of Canada's greatest unsolved mysteries to this day. Some believe they simply succumbed to the brutal elements, while others speculate the patrol may have been attacked by a pack of wolves or even murdered. Whatever the case, the Lost Patrol serves as a haunting reminder of the merciless power of the Arctic tundra. Number 8. The Endurance Expedition. In 1914, renowned explorer Ernest Shackleton set sail for the Antarctic with a team of 27 men, determined to achieve the first land crossing of the frozen continent. However, their ship, the aptly named Endurance, became hopelessly trapped in pack ice, crushing its hull and leaving the crew stranded on the ice floes. For nearly 2 years, Shackleton and his men endured unimaginable hardships, battling hunger, frostbite, and the ever-present threat of being crushed by shifting ice. When all hope seemed lost, Shackleton made an incredible 800-mile open boat journey to a remote whaling station, returning to rescue every single one of his men without a single casualty. It was an astounding feat of leadership, seamanship, and pure determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Number 7. The Annapurna Massacre. In 1950, a French expedition led by mountaineer Maurice Herzog became the first to successfully summit the treacherous 26,545-foot peak of Annapurna in the Himalayas. It was a historic achievement, but the descent into the unknown would prove far more harrowing. Battered by blinding blizzards, the team became hopelessly lost, stumbling blindly through the raging storm. One by one, the exhausted climbers succumbed to the bitter cold, frostbite, and altitude sickness. By the time they finally staggered back to base camp, only 7 of the original 18 members had survived. The ordeal left Herzog and his comrades permanently maimed, with missing fingers and toes, a grim reminder of the Annapurna's unforgiving wrath. Number 6. The Franklin Expedition. In 1845, British Royal Navy officer Sir John Franklin set sail from England with 2 ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, on an expedition to conquer the Northwest Passage. With a well-equipped crew of 129 men, Franklin was confident of success. Tragically, the ships became icebound in the Canadian Arctic, and the entire expedition vanished without a trace. For over a century, the fate of the Franklin expedition remained one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, spawning numerous search missions and wild speculation. It wasn't until 2014 that the wreck of the HMS Erebus was finally discovered, shedding light on the grim reality. All 129 men died slow, excruciating deaths from starvation, hypothermia, and lead poisoning. The Franklin expedition stands as a sobering testament to the merciless cruelty of the Arctic. Number 5. The Donner Party. In 1846, a group of American pioneers known as the Donner Party set out from Illinois, bound for the promised land of California. Led by the ill-fated George Donner, their journey began with high hopes, but quickly descended into a living nightmare. Beset by poor planning, fierce blizzards, and food shortages, the exhausted pioneers became trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains as winter set in. Slowly, their numbers dwindled as starvation and disease ravaged the camp. In a final, unthinkable act of desperation, some resorted to cannibalism to survive. By the time rescue parties arrived, only 48 of the original 87 travelers were still alive. The Donner Party's horrific ordeal has become synonymous with the perils of 19th century westward expansion, a cautionary tale of the dire consequences that can befall those who underestimate the harshness of the wilderness. Number 4. The Mawson Expedition. In 1911, Australian geologist Douglas Mawson led an ambitious expedition to Antarctica's untamed wilderness, aiming to map the region's uncharted terrain. However, from the outset, the mission was plagued by one catastrophe after another. First, one of Mawson's companions fell into a crevasse and perished. Then, their sled dogs were killed and their food supplies were decimated by a devastating blizzard. Weakened and facing starvation, the remaining team members were forced to resort to eating their own sled dogs and even their own skin to survive. Mawson himself was left to make the harrowing 100-mile solo trek back to base camp, hallucinating from hunger and frostbite. Against all odds, he managed to stagger back alive, but 2 of his comrades perished. Mawson's epic struggle became known as one of the most remarkable feats of human endurance in the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. Number 3. The D-Day Glider Assault. On June 6, 1944, as Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, some 7,000 British and American paratroopers and glider troops launched a daring airborne assault behind enemy lines. Their objective was to capture vital bridges and roadways to aid the D-Day invasion. However, the glider portion of the mission quickly descended into chaos. Buffeted by fierce winds and heavy anti-aircraft fire, many of the fragile wooden gliders were ripped apart in midair or crashed catastrophically into the landscape. Dozens of soldiers were killed on impact, while others were left stranded, injured, and surrounded by German forces. It was a disastrous start to the pivotal D-Day operation, with the glider force suffering nearly 50% casualties. Yet, through sheer grit and determination, the survivors managed to seize their objectives, paving the way for the eventual Allied victory. Number 2. The Cassin Expedition. In 1958, Italian mountaineer Riccardo Cassin led a team of 19 climbers on an expedition to conquer the treacherous north face of Gasherbrum 4, a 26,000-foot peak in the Karakoram range of Pakistan. Yet, from the moment they set out, the journey was plagued by one calamity after another. Their camp was repeatedly battered by deadly avalanches, and a series of blizzards left the exhausted climbers isolated and running dangerously low on supplies. Tragically, 2 of Cassin's closest friends perished in a fall, devastating the team's morale. Beaten back time and again, the expedition was eventually forced to abandon their summit attempts. As they began the long, perilous descent, another avalanche struck, killing 5 more climbers. In the end, only 7 members of the original 19-man team made it back home alive. Number 1. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In 1959, a group of 9 experienced Russian hikers set out to conquer the treacherous Ural Mountains. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the young adventurers never returned from their trek. Weeks later, a search party made a grisly discovery. The hikers' brutalized bodies scattered across the remote Dyatlov Pass, some missing eyes and tongues. Their tent had been ripped open from the inside, and the victims were found partially dressed, suggesting they fled their camp in a great hurry. What happened that fateful night has baffled investigators for over 60 years. Some speculate they were attacked by a mysterious Yeti-like creature, while others believe they may have accidentally stumbled upon a top-secret military test. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in the annals of exploration. From the frozen wastelands of the Arctic to the treacherous peaks of the Himalayas, these 10 expeditions stand as grim reminders of the immense risk and sacrifices faced by those who dare to venture into the unknown. Yet, in their darkest moments, These explorers displayed an unwavering spirit of human courage, resilience, and determination that continues to captivate and inspire us to this day. If you found this dive into the world of ill-fated expeditions fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family. Also, do let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, remember to stay curious. We'll see you in the next video.